Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. So today we're going to do some baseball movies, or this week we're going to do baseball movies. So we're going to start off with Field of Dreams. So just as we usually do, we'll do the box office stats for you guys. So the budget for this movie was $15 million, which we were discussing. That's kind of interesting considering all the big hitters that are in this movie. Opening weekend, it only made $531,000, which with inflation is only 1.2. Like, to us, that's crazy that this.
Well, yeah. I mean, all the movies we've done, most of them do fairly well. We've had a few bomb, but I feel like this is a big bomb.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be happy.
Nope. And so, yeah, so the U.S. So opening weekend, again, it only made $531,000, or roughly, that's rounded, so which is only 1.2 million today. In the U.S., it grossed $64 million, which with inflation today is $138 million. And then worldwide, it grossed $84 million, which is $182 million today. So it did, I guess, it made its budget.
Right. At least the overall, it did pretty good.
I think I know they changed a couple things with Field when they tested it on people. Mm-hmm. Like at the end when he was talking to his dad, people were upset that he didn't introduce his wife and daughter as his grandchildren and stuff like that. And then they added, do you want to or I think they put in, do you want to play, what was it? Want to play catch or something like that at the end to kind of make it, because people were upset about that. Or that didn't test well. So there was things like that, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't see that said.
Yeah, there was one thing I found that said after the movie was completed, test audiences didn't like the original film title, Shoeless Joe Jackson, because they said it sounded like a movie about a bum or hobo. Universal called director and screenwriter Phil Alden Robinson to tell him that Shoeless Joe didn't work, and the studio changed the title of the film to Field of Dreams. When Robinson heard the news of the change, he called W.P. Kinsella, the author of the book, and told him the bad news. But apparently he didn't care, saying that Shoeless Joe was the title the publishing company gave the book. Kinsel's original title was Dreamfilled. Now, how funny is that? Mm-hmm. So he originally wanted to call it Dreamfilled, and then the movie ended up being Field of Dreams.
Iowa experienced its worst drought during this time, and they had to keep watering it. And then the corn grew too tall, so they had to put Kevin Costner on like a pallet to walk or whatever. I mean, they couldn't keep the grass alive.
Well, they even brought in extra corn just in case if they needed it, and ended up not needing it.
Yeah, because during filming, Iowa was in the middle of a drought, and the cornfields surrounding the diamond had to be given lots of extra water in order to grow tall enough for the actors to disappear into the stalks. As a result, the corn grew too fast for the Costner shots. When the corn is above his shoulders, he is walking on an elevated plank. And then thousands of pallets of green grass were brought in to make the baseball field, but due to the haste in planting, because of the shooting schedule, the grass was not able to grow appropriately and died. In order to keep the grass green, the production crew painted the grass.
So you can put coordinates in, and I got a picture here that I saved. But if you put the coordinates in, you can actually on Google Maps see the field, and you can scroll around and it's still there, and you can go visit it, and people are welcome to come and play. I just think it'd be so neat to go see that.
Yep. So they actually built the baseball diamond on an actual farm in Dyersville, Iowa. And after they finished filming, that family got to keep the field, and they added a small hut with inexpensive souvenirs for sale. As of 2018, visitors were free to come to the field and play baseball as they pleased between April and November. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was interesting too, going to the characters. So Ray Liotta, who plays Shoeless Joe Jackson, so I guess Joe Jackson was really a left-handed batter, and Ray Liotta is right-handed, and he had no experience. Like, he had no baseball experience at all. Ray Liotta didn't. And Phil Alden Robinson allowed Liotta to bat with his right hand, but still put him through several weeks of extensive training with the University of Southern California baseball team. And I don't know, how would you do, like, I would be mad if I were a baseball fan and, like, watching him bat left or right-handed, knowing because I'm sure the die-hard fans know or right or left. Especially because left is it's rare.
See, I always thought the famous quote for this movie was, if you build it, they will come. And that's not correct.
Mm.
But actually, the movie's line, if you build it, he will come, was voted as the 39 movie quote of the American Film Institute out of 100. What did you think it was?
Oh, I thought it was too. I thought it was they. But then I think they do say that later. The little girl, his daughter says, they will come.
Yeah.
And then I think the voice does too at one point, don't they? Or they will come.
I kept paying attention, and everything I heard kept saying he will come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go the distance.
I didn't understand that. What go the distance meant.
Yeah. Ease his pain.
Yes, to ease his pain.
Yeah. The concept of this movie, like, if you were to sit down and tell somebody, don't tell them that you're talking about Field of Dreams, but just talk about a concept for a movie about this guy who's going to build a baseball field for old ghosts to come back and play the game. I don't know, you'd think that that's crazy. It's a crazy concept for a movie. And, like, when I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, this is so weird. It's so weird. He's building this field. I mean, he went a whole year before anything ever even happened, because he built it that summer, and then we see him at Christmas staring out at the field and nothing's happening. And they're sitting there, that following summer talking about their bills. And then the daughter's like, there's a man out in the field.
Yeah.
And then that's and that's even weird, because the first word that's even spoken when he goes out to Shoeless Joe is sorry. I was like, are they even going to talk? Like, they just stood there and stared at each other. It was very, very awkward.
Well, I think we have to say too why he built it for Shoeless Joe. Because, essentially for them to come back, because he was a disgraced, pretty much. I mean, he was banned from the game because they threw the World Series, or he was one that was thought to, because he was mad at the managers. Mm-hmm. Because I guess, so when we first meet him, he says it's hard to see, or we get a little view into that when he first meets Ray. Shoeless Joe says it's hard when they're talking about the lights. He said it's hard to see the ball because of the lights. And Ray explains that owners put lights in so that night games could be played and the teams could make more money. And Shoeless Joe replies, owners, with, kind of like he's not happy with them. And in the 1990 White Sox scandal is that the owner was cheap and they didn't pay the players what they should have and what they were promised. And so they accepted bribes from prominent gamblers to throw the series. And it's well documented that in 1919, the White Sox players despised the owners, despised the owner and making him scoff at the owners putting the lights on. So they banned them from playing because he was one of, I think what'd they say, 8? Mm-hmm. There were 8 players that were, I guess, banned, or they were in trouble and they couldn't play anymore. Yeah. Because of it.
Well, at that point, it's slavery. You know what I mean? Like,
paying them, and they're getting all this money for you as your franchise or whatever. And I mean, the White Sox is a huge team. It's not like,
yeah, well, then there was big players back then. Big players.
You've got Babe Ruth, you've got Ty Cobb, there's a lot. Yeah, there were a lot of big ones.
Moonlight Graham. I like that little story because it seems so pointless. We're going through, like, he goes and picks up Terrence, which is James Earl Jones' character. He goes and picks up Terrence, and they go to a ball game together, and he sees up in, what's that called?
Well, is it a Jumbotron, or is it like a scoreboard?
Yeah, the scoreboard. He looks up at the scoreboard, and that's whenever he sees Moonlight Graham. And you think, like, the whole trip is pointless, and then, Terrence is like, go the distance, and he's like, you did hear it, you did see it. And so they go together to go find Moonlight, and they go in a little town. And I have a fact here I just thought was so cute. So there was an actual Archibald Moonlight Graham. The people Terrence Mann is interviewing in the bar were people who knew the real Doc Graham. They found out about the movie and the inclusion of Doc Graham's character. They drove from Minnesota to Iowa The stories the men shared were actual stories about Doc Graham.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I liked the one story that really got me and I started tearing up was the man talking about how his wife liked blue. That was her favorite color. And the one store would buy blue hats because they knew that Doc would come in and buy them. And so when he passed away, they found all these blue hats that he never had a chance to give his wife. And well, even whenever he's talking to Ray, he says, well, I better get home or she'll think I have a girlfriend. He says that twice in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Once whenever he's, sitting there talking to him in his office, and then the other time is after he saves this little girl. And that broke my heart. Whenever he's in the field and he's playing with all these guys and he gets his wish, basically, because he wished to play again. And the little girl was knocked off the stand by her uncle, which that scene made me so mad.
We talked about that.
Yeah. And when Moonlight came out to save her, like there was no question, and he stepped out of the line because they kind of made a point to show that in the movie is that you couldn't go past that white gravel, and he came over and he turned back into his older self and saved her. And then the uncle sees all the players finally.
Yeah, I never see that confused me too. I was like, why now? Why can he see them now? Is it because he left the field and came? I was very confused on that. Why all of a sudden he could see them? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get it.
There's a lot at the very end of this movie. There are so many questions. Like I have like you said, like he could now see the doctor. Is it because was he was the uncle a believer now after seeing the doctor? And then he looks up and he sees the players. So maybe now he's a believer. And then James Earl Jones, who played Terrence, he goes into the field. We don't see him again. And I'm like, what the heck? Because where did he go? He told Ray that he would write about it. And of course, we see the line of cars coming in at the end, and they're going to come and watch the game and pay a ticket. And what are they going to see? That was my question. And it's just weird because yes, it was a very endearing movie. It was very sweet. But I have this question of, you got millions of people coming across all over to come and watch this game. Aren't they going to start questioning why Shoeless Joe's out there playing ball?
You would think, and maybe that's the draw of it. I mean, to them.
But I feel like the whole movie, the whole journey, everything he did was to see his dad again and make his wrongs right.
Yeah. And it was. I think that was and yeah, I would say so. And that's why it was weird to see the dad, him not introduce his family as,
Yeah. Well, he started to. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is and then he goes, he tells him his real name. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a different movie. I like it though. I really enjoyed it.
It is a good movie. The acting is really good. I think it's cool at the end when the cars are coming in. I read a fact on that. That was pretty cool. It was a community event. They had all the extras from the community drive, and then to show them or to act like they're moving, they had them flip between their brights and their regular lights to make it look like they were moving.
Oh, okay. Neato.
So I thought that was kind of cool, but it was like a community event. So all the community members got to, now I don't know how they found, I'm sure they put a big thing in and they found out about it. So they were like, oh yeah, let's go do this. We'll go drive,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'd have done it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, but this is the first time, don't beat me. This is the first time I ever watched this movie. I had never seen it.
I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through. And if I did, I was younger and I definitely did not understand it.
I can see why it did so poorly in the beginning. Why it didn't do well in the box office. And then for generations, over time, why it has kind of become I feel like it's an iconic movie. Everybody's at least heard of it. I at least had heard of it and knew the concept of it, but hadn't watched it. So if you've not watched it, I highly recommend you give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And take the time to sit down and watch it. I think it is worth watching.
I think so too.
Yeah, you don't want to be me and 34 and say, I've never seen that movie and kind of have to like hunker down because you don't want people to like yell at you.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like, I mean, and I try not to, but like there's people that I knew in the past that hadn't even seen Goonies. And I was like, come on now. Like, and this is, I mean, I feel like that is worth watching. And I like I said, the acting is really good. I mean, even when Ray Liotta, I mean, just the banter between him and Kevin Costner, or not the banter, but like when they are pitching to, or when he's pitching to him and he hits, I guess Ray Liotta did get really good at hitting and he developed a good swing, and where he hits the line drive straight back at Kevin actually happened. And like him falling was real.
I say that looked really real.
Yeah, and although it was a surprise to Kevin, obviously, because he was not expecting that, but he said, and see, that's what makes a good actor. He stayed in character, and that made for a good scene.
Yeah, no, it's a fun scene for sure. Because even like the camera angle and everything was just perfect on point. So a lot of those scenes you just can't. I mean, once in a lifetime shot. I feel like the way it ended, I was like, my one boy said something, and he's like, is this almost over? And I said, yeah, I think we're about halfway through. And we were at that spot, you know, where they're talking about going into the field. And I thought, man, we probably got at least another 20, 40 minutes. No, it was at the end. And I don't know, like, it just didn't feel over for me. It really bugged me that it didn't feel over for me.
So kind of like me with Steel Magnolias.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how I felt with that. But yeah, I mean,
they could have easily made a second one, A Field of Dreams, if they did it right.
Well, I would have liked to see what happened. Like, I would have liked to see how if they did save the farm and how people did react to it. And I mean, because obviously the townspeople thought he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching him take down his corn.
Yeah. Well, they said, his wife's family said, you're just staring at an empty field. That would look weird to people when they really were watching a ball game.
Yeah. Well, especially her brother, when they get in, you know, they're watching the game. And I thought that was really cool when the brother-in-law walks through the pitch.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool. I was like, boy, that I would not be able, I would flinch. I know I would.
Yeah. Well, and whenever he comes up there at the end and he's talking and stuff, and James Earl Jones looks at him and says, he can't see this? And they were like, no. And he just chuckles like, hi, that's something, you know. Just
well, I think it just goes to his character.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny because normally, like, if you're the one that's seeing ghosts, you're looked at as the crazy one. But in return, the crazy ones are the ones that can't see the ghosts in this movie. That was Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones. Let us know down below if you've watched this movie, what you think of it. If you haven't watched it, I'd highly recommend you give it a chance. It was really good. Just overall, just a good movie. But yes, definitely let us know your opinions down below. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I am Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelley. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.